This channel is made possible by viewers like you. My viewers, subscribers, and patrons greatly help to keep this channel going. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all of you. Please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any uploads. And if you'd like to go the extra mile, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you'll get access to what I'm working on, previews of upcoming content, and even early videos, along with other tier options for those that are interested. Thank you, and now on to the video. Bioware is in such a tricky situation. When we look back on their last set of titles, generally they are not doing too well. Dragon Age Inquisition was a hit. Many fans enjoyed that game. The game sold well too, and it even got the love from many critics. Following Inquisition, there was Mass Effect Andromeda, and it had a pretty rough launch. I was actually a defender of that game, but I saw this as a new entry in a potential new trilogy. Yes, it had flaws, for sure, but there were a lot of aspects that I really enjoyed about it. It was disappointing to see how Bioware never actually got to release any additional DLC for that game too, along with never putting out a 60 FPS patch out for it either. On the PC side of things, you have the mods, and other things that can be added to the game that can really greatly help it. So Bioware had a misstep, and I believe it did not sell as well as expected too. Then came Anthem. The game got heavily panned and ended up not selling well either. I will admit that it did seem odd that EA put Bioware on a more live service type of game. Sure, I enjoy the gameplay within their games, but most people will say that if you want to know Bioware's strengths, it would be their storytelling and characters. So then why would you have them lead a live service type of game? To Bioware's credit, I actually liked the gameplay of Anthem, and found the movement really enjoyable. It needed more work and content, but it felt like it could be one of those situations where if given the time and resources, a redemption could be made here. And it even seemed like we were going to get something like that at some point. But then the Anthem 2.0 was then canned. Nothing will ever get improved for that project. It was at this point that even somebody like me who enjoyed their prior two games, I'm like, the studio needs a win. It kinda got a half win with that remastered collection of the Mass Effect trilogy, and then teasing a new Mass Effect title. But so little is known about that game, so I don't really have so much to say. Other than that, I hope it's good, and maybe they can find a way to improve on the piss-poor ending of Mass Effect 3. So all this leads us back to Dragon Age Veilguard. This is their new big game, the first Dragon Age in 10 years, and much of the footage for this title is leaving me in a space that feels very concerned for Bioware's future. When watching and reading the stuff related to Veilguard, it just brings back a rush of nostalgic memories to me of Bioware games that I played before. For example, I remember when Origins came out. It was during a time where honestly Bioware could do no wrong. It felt like they were just popping off cool idea after cool idea. Oh, you want a martial arts RPG? Well, we are creating Jade Empire. Oh, you want sci-fi? Check out Mass Effect. Want something more fantasy oriented? Here's Dragon Age. Man, what a great time in gaming. It felt like a golden age in many ways. But with Origins, there are so many cool things to praise about that title, and when looking at the new game, it seems like it's missing a lot of the magic that made the original so great to begin with. For example, I love how the original game there were several stories you could experience at the very start, depending on your initial character choices. This meant that you could experience a very different introductory 2 hours compared to someone else, and even within those initial choices, those choices had choices. Imagine that, an RPG that actually had role-playing elements, and this type of stuff would always have me wanting to come back to experience something different. I was in this new world, and all I wanted to do was dive deeper into it. The combat system was something that was more tactics-based and less action-oriented. Much of these classical elements and legacy components don't seem to be part of the new game. Now, I might be wrong, but it doesn't seem like we have any of those cool opening choices that could result in different openings for Veilguard as seen in Origins, and the combat seems to be more moving in an action direction, rather than being something more in line with the original vision of the first game. Maybe I am wrong, but I think many of us fans would probably love to see a game sort of back to the style like the original great game, even if the scale and scope was smaller. Don't remake Origins, but rather get back to what made that game special. You could argue that Origins is dated, and you'd be completely wrong. People want that sort of stuff. Look at how Baldur's Gate 3 did. Everyone ate that up. We have these other studios that are managing to be better at being Bioware than Bioware itself. Those rush of good memories was probably one of the few positives that I got from the footage of Veilguard when I saw it. Bioware used to be great. I would love for them to be great again, but I am not so sure we'll ever have that again, with a potential failure of Veilguard leading to Bioware sadly maybe closing their doors. Looking at Bioware and the new Dragon Age has me thinking a few things. For one, I really do think this game needs to be a grand slam for them. Like, this needs to knock it out of the park, be a hit with the fans, and sell very well. At the same time, based on the stuff I've seen so far, it has me thinking I don't think this game is going to be able to accomplish that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do not feel hopeful about it. The other thing is that I'm concerned, and I guess not confident, that this new Bioware is up to the task of the old Bioware, or like they're even at half of that strength. Like, if Bioware fails at this Dragon Age, do we really want this company then making a new Mass Effect? I would love a new Mass Effect game. Honestly, I really want one that corrects the poor ending of 3, and maybe provides something cool for 4. But the truth is that a lot of that old school talent, those developers, leaders, and writers are not at that company anymore. So yes, there are some old members, but the last several years this is pretty much a new Bioware. Probably even more so now because of the long development of Dragon Age. This Bioware is probably very different than the one of even 5 years ago too. With all that being said, what happens if Veilguard fails? What happens if this game fails to deliver? What happens if it fails to sell? If the game fails to resonate with legacy fans, or enough new fans, I think this could sadly mean the end of Bioware. Gaming budgets have ballooned to insane amounts, and it seems like one failure today could just end a company. The ugly situation is that this Dragon Age game might resonate with new fans, who prefer this new one over the old ones, and will have this split fan base between legacy and new. Worst if Veilguard is not a good game and does not really respect the legacy, and yet it still manages to sell well, because that will then send a signal to EA to make more stuff like this. I am interested to see which way this will go. While I've been critical of the writing of what I've seen so far with this game, I would rather have a good game over a bad one. I would rather have these scenes that I have watched be more isolated instances of bad writing and dialogue, rather than examples of the entire thing being bad. I make these videos because I want stuff to be good. I miss the good stuff, and I know that we can still have it. We just need the right environment and talent in the right positions to make it happen. Maybe we'll see that here. Maybe we are witnessing an end of an era. What are your thoughts on Bioware? Are you picking up the new Dragon Age? Do you like or hate much of this modern writing? Let me know all of this in the comments down below. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you can help to keep this channel going strong, and this allows me to be able to do more for my awesome audience. Please check out the links in the description and pinned comment for ways to support the channel. And most of all, thank you very much for watching.